Hello, hello. Is anybody there? Let's see. All right, looks like we're live. 3, 2, 1. Did I do that right? 3, 2, 1. Welcome, welcome, everyone, to Ask the Gap Chef. It is December 10th. It is the second Wednesday. We'll be here again on the fourth Wednesday, which, by the way, is Christmas Eve for those of you who celebrate. That'll be so much fun. Welcome to everyone. Monica Corrado here, the GAPS chef, certified GAPS practitioner, teaching team with Dr. Natasha, or for Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, holistic nutritionist, etc., etc. My desire here is to, what is my desire? Accurately, accurately represent and explain the gut and psychology syndrome diet, the GAPS diet, the gut and physiology syndrome diet, etc., etc. I'm not a medical doctor. I have to say that to make sure that they don't strike me. Okay. So we're here today, and I thought that it would be so much fun for us to talk about GAPS and the holidays, because we are going into the holidays already. So no matter what you celebrate, yeah, Christmas, Hanukkah, solstice, Kwanzaa, what have you got? Lots of holidays. Certainly the New Year's are coming up, and I am having a lot of conversations with clients of mine about how to navigate the holidays, and I thought that might be helpful to talk about today. So here we go. Salud, a little water. Structured, all that good stuff. So there are a couple things that I would suggest, and I'm telling my folks. Number one, think about it. Have a strategy. How do you want to go through these holidays? What is your intention going through the holidays? What does that mean? So some people, I'll start differently. When we define what we want, then we can do it. When we have an intention, then we can have it, right? Or we can just go through the holidays and stumble on through, which is another option. Stumble on through, and then at the end you can be like, what did I do? Or I don't feel so good, or ooh, that didn't really work very well. So if you have an intention, set it. So here are some examples. Pardon me. Pardon me again. Number one, I am going to stay on my diet. I'm going to continue to use GAPS principles all the way through the holidays, because that's what makes my body feel better, because that's when my brain works the best, because that's what keeps my bowels moving, and that's what keeps whatever other ways you want to say. I will be well through the holidays if I stick to the program. Yay! That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is I'm going to do GAPS through the holidays, and I will make substitutes for all of those things that are usually eaten during the holidays. What does that mean? That means use GAPS cooking techniques to switch out, to make foods that you usually would have, right? So cookies and pies and cakes and all those foods, right? Maybe you decide that, yep, we're going to have them in my house, but I'm going to make them by soaking, sprouting, or fermenting nut or seed flour. I'm going to switch out the sweeteners, so I'm never using white sugar or, right? White sugar or even sucanat, right? I'm going to switch up my recipes and use some date sugar. I'm going to use some date syrup. I'm going to use some, maybe a little bit of raw honey, though that really shouldn't be heated. So that's another way. Like, cool, right? So I just invite you to think a little bit about how you want to go into the holidays so that you're not, so that you have a plan. You have a plan, you have a strategy, and you can get through the holidays and feel better on the other side, mentally and physically, right? The other option, of course, is to just throw everything to the wind and be like, I don't care, which is fine. It's an option. Throw everything to the wind and then go to all the parties and go to all the holiday gatherings and the family gatherings. Eat whatever you want. And then on the other side, right, do a lot of detoxification supports, right? Perhaps eat before you go to these events. Eat your GAPS foods so that you're not really hungry for all that stuff that may look enticing but not really feel enticing once you eat it, or feel very good once you eat it, right? So up to you, but I just want to say these are options for you, and you are always at choice in how you're going to frame this holiday season. What do I mean by that? One of the things I mean is that every person always has the choice about how they're going to frame something. And how you frame something matters. So what do I mean by that? Besides the things I just talked about, those other three options we just talked about, right? But so you could go into the holiday season and say, oh, I'm on this really restrictive diet. It's really terrible. I'm really depressed. I can't eat anything. This is awful. Yeah, you could do that. Or you could frame it a different way and say, different frame. This is a holiday season. I'm going to love my body and myself enough to enjoy it as best I can with the GAPS diet. I just bring that all up, folks, because I know that this can be a very, very difficult time of year for people. And really, we get to choose. We're always, at every moment, we are choosing between light and dark, light and dark, light and dark, right? Positive, negative, optimism, negativity. What do you got? Optimism, pessimism. So again, you can look at gaps of, oh, this is a really hard diet. It's a really restrictive diet. I can't have any fun. I can't have any good food. Or you could be like, I really love this diet. I love this protocol because I feel better when I do it. And what are the ways that I can still enjoy this season by using GAPS cooking techniques to create things that are not only good for my body, but also are special treats or taste wonderful. So I just offer that to you as a couple of just words of experience going into yet another holiday season on the GAPS diet. The last thing I want to really share with you is something that I say over and over and over again, which is GAPS. People think GAPS is restrictive, and it is. It's restricting. Ready? I'm going to say something. It's restrictive because it doesn't allow you to have the CRAP that's out there for any holiday or any day, right? We're not eating the garbage. We're not eating the processed food. We're not eating the foods that are made by machines. We're not eating those things. Yes, GAPS restricts the garbage. GAPS restricts the processed foods. GAPS restricts the white sugar. GAPS restricts all those foods that are not going to serve your body well. Yes, it is restrictive in that way. And at the same time, so many of you have heard me say that GAPS is really French food. I'm not French, so sorry folks, but I have been to France. What do I mean by that? Just get the art of French cooking. We have butter and lots of it. We have butter and we have cultured cream. We have pâté. We have soups and stews and roasts. We have beautiful gravies and sauces and salads and, right? We have all of these foods. That is not restrictive. That is delicious. That is nutritious and delicious, right? So when people say that GAPS is restrictive, you say, yep, it is. It's restrictive because it restricts the amount of GARBAGE. Oops, did I say that? I did. I'm really bad today. The amount of CRAP, the amount of food fractions or processed foods and processed foods, the amount of, what's the opposite of dense? Those foods that we eat that have a dearth, great word for Scrabble, a dearth of nutrition, meaning they're not nutrient dense, they're nutrient stealers, right? So I was blessed today to work with a client through the New Biology Clinic, which I work there as a enrichment specialist for nutrition. Anyway, I was working with someone and they've been doing GAPS for, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months, maybe. What I call a modified full. And they felt well enough to go out and have a treat, which is go to a restaurant with some friends. And they tried those foods, rice, beans, other stuff. And they came home. Number one, they felt toxic. Number two, they were still hungry. Number three, they just paid a lot of money to feel toxic and be still hungry. Interesting, eh? Again, that's why I say go ahead and eat some GAPS foods before you go out, right? Like get that pantry, get the pantry, the internal pantry filled up before you go out and spend money on food that will A, be toxic, and B, be lack nutrition, right? And leave you hungry. So now you're like, you lost money, you're still hungry, and you feel bad. I don't know, does that sound like a treat to you? Doesn't sound like a treat to me. In any case, just wanted to share all of that with you. So again, oh, my puppy dog is back. Hello, puppy. Okay, so in any case, GAPS, yes, we restrict the garbage. And I am being quite strong today, I know. But I know that even when you walk into natural food stores, whatever they may be, if the food has been made by a machine, the nutrition is going to be lower. And certainly there will not be the same amount of love that you can put in the food with everything that you make. Stirring it in, intending it, putting love in the food. So food made by machines, folks, is not going to nourish you ever. Whoa. Processed food, something in a box, something in a can, something with a label, something with 36 different ingredients that you can't pronounce, will never nurture you. It will not nourish you. It will not nurture you. No nourishing, no nurturing. Use these hands, these God-given hands, to take that beautiful food and make it, imbue it with your love, with your intentions for healing. People will feel the difference, people. They really will. I call it cooking for the love of the world. That's what you're doing on GAPS. You could say you're cooking for the love of your daughter, you're cooking for the love of your child, you're cooking for the love of your husband, your spouse, your partner, your wife, your whatever, your grandmother, the person down the street. You're cooking for the love of. That's what GAPS really is, folks. It's a journey back to real food. It's a journey back to deep, deep appreciation and gratitude for the gifts that the land gives us, the gifts that the animals give us, the gifts, right? The gifts of nourishment for our bodies, minds, hearts, etc. All right. I hope that was helpful for people to how to think about, or at least to take a moment and think about how you want to be this holiday season, how you want to eat this holiday season, what's important to you. Make that decision. Do some thinking about it so that you can come out on the other side January 2, January 1, 2026. Feeling nourished, feeling aligned with your decision about how you want to be, how you want to eat, how you want to cook in this holiday season. I hope that's helpful. All right, so I just want to say hello to some folks. Hello, hello. Hello to Laura. Hello to Makey. Hello, Natasha. Hello, Mariah. All you fabulous people. Thanks for coming in and saying hello. I am happy to take any questions that you have. And, oh, my little pup. I'm also going to use my little sneaky thing, like go into my phone to see what kind of things might be showing up in terms of la 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 la. Let's go ahead and sing. Let's see what's going on the on the page. Sorry folks. Okay. All right, so if anybody has anything, looks like I can see it here on my page, and you can go ahead and put any kind of questions that you have. I'm happy to answer anything, how to switch recipes and make them GAPS compliant, how to anything, whatever you'd like. I know I had a few questions come in this morning on when I posted. Yeah, let's just go ahead and see what came up there. Yay! Here's some folks. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take these and then type your things in the, yeah, you could type your questions in the chat, in the chat here. Okay, so Natasha, you're here. Hi, Monica. Can you talk about what is a yeast flare? I read in the blue book when we introduce something, we should watch for a yeast flare. What is a sign of it? Can it be white kind of plaque, kind of white on the tongue? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to see if I can do this. Hold on. La 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 la. Sing to you so you don't know that I'm doing something over here. That's kind of a joke. I know you can see I'm doing something. All right. Okay, just so I don't lose that. All right, so what is a yeast flare? Okay, so this is so good. One more time with feeling. Yeast, we love yeast. Now, you're probably like, no, we really don't. We do love yeast because yeast come sometimes to protect our brain from heavy metals. Our yeast come to protect us from toxins. That's their role. And we know that we can use beneficial yeast like kefir, the yeast in kefir or kefir, to keep us well, right? Okay, so what does a yeast flare look like? So a yeast flare will come when you have too much sugar or carbohydrate in your diet, right? So this is why many times people know that I will encourage you. You've heard me say it before. Cut out the sugar. No fruit for 6 months. No fruit. No beans, right? GAPS beans. Cut the squash down. Blah, 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 right? So usually yeast flares will come when you bring in foods that would feed them. These would feed the ones that we don't want. This would feed the yeast that are out of balance. Those foods, again, would be things like fruit. They would be things like honey, if you have too much of it. They would be things like fruit, honey, maybe lentils, if you have too many of them. Those types of things. Certainly nuts or seeds, Remember, Dr. Natasha talks a lot about how nuts and seeds can feed yeast. This is another reason why it's important to be careful with, gentle with, mindful is a better word, mindful when we bring in nuts, as in nut butter or seeds, nuts or seeds, nut or seed butter, as in pancakes in stage 3, right? Or we start baking in stage 4. So nuts, seeds, fruit, too much honey, sometimes butternut squash, sometimes. Poor butternut squash has gotten such a bad rap these days. Anyway, so those are the foods that could give you a yeast flare. And what does a yeast flare look like? It usually looks like, yes, it can be whiteness on the tongue, white coated tongue. It could be any rash, red eczema flare, rash flare. It could be dandruff, right? Flare. So it could be a red itchy spot. It could be a rash. It could be whiteness on the tongue. It could be anything. When you think of, like, I have a yeast overgrowth, what does that look like? That could be athlete's foot. That could be jock itch. That could be a vaginal yeast infection. That could be explosions in the places where yeast like to explode. Where? I'm doing this on my elbow. So elbow crease, behind the knees, under the armpits, in the groin. These are places that are moist, dark, and under the breasts, right? If you're a woman, any of those places can flare. Yeast can flare there. And so if you see that start happening, what do? 1, take out the sugars for a while, a good long while. Those sugars and things that can feed yeast that I just talked about. And number 2, increase your kefir, both internally. What are you drinking? Lots of milk kefir, lots of kefir cream, and externally start putting it on the yeast, right? Dr. Natasha talks about it. I call it a bucket, but she probably says a jar or a bowl. Anyway, in the bathroom, yeah, keep a little bit of kefir, milk kefir, and just slather it on, folks. Slather it on wherever you're having a yeast flare. It doesn't have to be dripping wet and uncomfortable, but use it that way. Yeah? All right. I hope that's helpful. Okay, so we've got something here from Mariah. Hey, Mariah. Okay, so I have a yeast overgrowth resulting in a vaginal infection and nipple thrush. You got it. That's another one. Thrush. Absolutely. I'm also breastfeeding my 7-week-old baby while on full gaps. I cut out all sugar, fruits, nuts, honey, like you suggested. Even squash and carrots. Is that too extreme? That is not too extreme at all. It's a good idea. I'm hungry all the time. Okay, when you're hungry all the time, any suggestions for helping with the constant hunger? Yep. Keep eating. You are nursing, so remember that all of that nutrition or not is going to your baby. So I would really up the fats if you can. When we're hungry, up the fats, up the protein, and up the nutrient-dense foods to the extent that you can, right? More egg yolks, more liver, more, yeah, you got it. You're doing coconut butter. Excellent, excellent. Yes, just keep eating. I guess I need to purchase a new start for kefir because you don't have that. I'm just saying, folks, like yeast overgrowth, kefir is the answer. Again, this is in my experience, right? But that's what we use to combat yeast overgrowth. We bring in kefir. So I have a couple of resources on the page that are sitting up in, like, I think either featured posts or resources that talk about kefir a lot, and you could take a look at that if you want to. I hope that's helpful, including like an article on thrush, kefir is your answer. I hope that's helpful. I'm sorry, it's hard. I would also be putting kefir on the nipples. I would be putting it in the groin from front to back. This is straight from Dr. Natasha. Yep. If you're hungry all the time, then please, please, please eat more food, especially concentrating on the cream, the eggs, the egg yolks, the liver, the organ meats, all those nutrient-dense foods. Good. You're welcome, Mariah. I'm glad it's helpful. All right. Hi, Camilla. Nice to see you too. Do you have a Love Your Liver class? Yes, I absolutely have a Love Your Liver class. It's sitting on my website, simplybeingwell.com. Simplybeingwell.com. Go to online courses. I think it's under like teaching chef or something. Online courses, there is a Love Your Liver class. Talks about how to detox your liver, how to cook liver, how to make those liver shots. You name it, it's there. So definitely take a look at that. Yes. All right. Camilla says, if we have symptoms with very bloating, is pushing through with kefir and meat stock something that we have to do until the inflammation subsides by itself? Bloating. So, bloating. I think I have some videos on this. I really invite all of you. I know some of you that are on have been following me for a long time, but on my YouTube channel, remember that Facebook is erasing, they're deleting my videos or everyone's videos within 2 weeks or 30 days or something. I don't know. So please do go to Ask the Gap Chef on YouTube. Take a look there because I have a lot of videos there. There's probably over 100, maybe 200. I don't know. Anyway, take a look there. There may be some things on bloating to take a look at. I bet there are because I'm sure I've talked about it. But let's see, bloating. Taking a deep breath and thinking about how to talk about bloating. So, one of the things I would look at for bloating is, are you bloated all the time? Or are you bloating because of, in response to a food that you've eaten, right? So that's important. So I don't know if you want to give me more in the comment section and I can be more specific, but if you're bloating, the question is, are you bloated all the time? That means one thing. Or are you bloated in response to eating? So the question is the bloating because you're not digesting your food and it's fermenting in the gut? If so, look at stomach acid. The test is sitting on the page. You take a look at the stomach acid test. Look at stomach acid and then look at digestive enzymes. That's where I would start all the time, with food even more. Yeah, so one of the things I would do if you have bloating all the time and with food even more, I would really go ahead and I am suggesting that you reduce the amount of carbohydrate, reduce the amount of fruit, no fruit. Again, right? What did I just say about yeast? So let's reduce everything that would feed pathogenic bacteria and or pathogenic yeast, etc. Right? So let's get out all the fruit, all the nuts, all the seeds, all the beans that are allowed on GAPS. Take out all of those things for maybe 3 to 6 months. Make sure your stomach acid is high enough, meaning do the stomach acid test. If you fail it, bring in bitters and things like that. I'm going to answer the stomach acid test in a moment. Stomach acid question. I would bring in digestive supports. Dr. Natasha calls it stomach acid boosters. And I would also bring in digestive enzymes. So you take your digestive enzyme right before you start eating, and you take if you're taking hydrochloric acid with betaine, right? Betaine HCl with pepsin, or Zypan if you can get standard process where you are. Have a couple bites first and then take some of that, right? So I would work with that. 1, starve out the problem. 2, make sure your stomach acid is as high where it should be, stomach acid production. Make sure you're digesting your foods. Make sure you're breathing when you eat. Right? We didn't even talk about that. Take a deep breath. Am I present to what I'm eating? Am I? Yeah. So you're in parasympathetic. You can digest. I would do that and stay off sugar for 3 to 6 months. I would do those things and see what happens. That's my beginning of my answer because we're not working together, but that's the best I can do here. All right. Good, good. All right, let me go to this question that came in this morning. Stomach acid. I've done the baking soda test and never burp. You're welcome, Camilla. Blessings on your journey. All right. I've done the stomach acid test and never burp. So I tried hydrochloric acid with pepsin. It gave me stomach pain and bloating. Bitters and vinegar make my stool like sludge with oil floating on top. What would cause this, and what's the best thing to take? I definitely need digestive support. Should I take digestive enzymes with every meal as well? Thank you. And should you take digestive support anytime you eat, even something small with stock? All right, so a couple things. You do not need, in my experience, you do not need digestive enzymes when you have a mug of stock. Like it's just stock, you're drinking something. It's really when you're having a meal. Okay, that's the first thing. I'm going to answer this question about when you have oil floating on the top of the stool or oil in the toilet or your stools are floating, that is a bile issue. That is a gallbladder issue for anyone, or that's what it points to. It points to gallbladder support needed. And so then that would be an ox bile. You would be taking ox bile. That's a supplement. That is a GAPS supplement you can take. It's in both books. But I always suggest that you start with the lowest amount of ox bile, and then increase to see if you need more. Right? Because ox bile can also give you loose stools, which we'd rather have them loose than constipated, folks. Right? I invite you all to go and take a look at my video called Poop Clues. P-O-O-P. Poop Clues on YouTube, because it talks about the fact that your poop is going to shift. What it looks like, what its consistency is, whether it floats or whether it sinks, whether it's light brown, chalky, or dark brown, all of those things are going to change, and it's fine that they do. So don't get worried about it. Read it, right? Friend and colleague Dr. Becky Plotner, rest in peace, she used to say, read your poop. It's going to tell you something. So that's in my Poop Clues video if you want to take a look at that. So anything about oil or floating, that points to the gallbladder. It points to the fact that you need gallbladder support. What are ways to do that in GAPS besides taking ox bile? It is support the liver and the gallbladder with beets. Beets, B-E-E-T-S, beets. Beet soup, beet kvass, that's a ferment, right? Steamed beets, roasted beets, beet soup. What can you do with beets? Eat beets every day. Help the body produce the bile it needs so that your gallbladder, so that your whole body can handle the fat, the amount of fat that you're bringing in, that you're eating, that you're consuming. Okay, so support the gallbladder and the liver when things are oily or floating. And do go ahead and look and see what other things I've talked about with that. I'm happy that you stopped taking the betaine HCl. I personally, as a practitioner, don't usually use betaine HCl with my peeps because I don't like them. I don't like the idea that you could burn the stomach. That's why we do the apple cider vinegar test, right? So the baking soda test tells us if your stomach acid production is low. The apple cider vinegar test is supposed to tell you if you could handle betaine HCl without burning. But that just tells you whether or not you have an ulcer, really. Again, this is what it's pointing to, right? So if you're ever uncomfortable with betaine HCl, stop immediately like you did. And I, again, like standard process Zypan because it can't burn your stomach. You could take 10 of them, it wouldn't be a problem. Or look to the GAPS diet for all the ways that Dr. Natasha talks about how do you increase stomach acid without taking a supplement. Any ideas? How do you increase stomach acid? Eating sauerkraut before every meal. Drinking cabbage tonic before every meal. Right? Cabbage is like one of the number one things that you can do to increase stomach acid. Eat sauerkraut. Drink sauerkraut juice. Drink cabbage tonic. Those things. Eat a raw cabbage salad. That's Dr. Natasha's favorite, right? In the U.S., we call that coleslaw. Of course, make a good one. Don't get one of those in a bucket from someplace, right? So doing all of those things are really important to help you increase stomach acid production. The other piece is to drink stock before the meal, right? Stock will help increase stomach acid production. So those are some things that you can take. And I would definitely take digestive enzymes with every meal. Now again, digestive enzymes are taken before you start eating. You don't have to wait 20 minutes, 30 minutes, nothing. You just pop it and then go. Make sure you get a good digestive enzyme. There are some sitting on gapsdiet.com. They have some. That's one of the websites that was one of the first websites that was carrying GAPS compliant supplements, books, things like that. So take a look at gapsdiet.com. They've been around for a long time, folks. Longer than me. Woo! Anyway, so do those types of things, but you don't need either a hydrochloric acid supplement or an enzyme with just a GAP shake or a liquid that you're having, right? All right, so Makey, hi, wants to know the difference between sauerkraut juice and cabbage tonic. Again, cabbage tonic recipe is sitting in either featured posts or resources on this page, Ask the GAP Chef. Cabbage tonic is an actual tonic that you make out of cabbage. It's pretty much sauerkraut that's been waterlogged. That's my new personal way of saying it. So what do I mean by that? So sauerkraut juice is I made a quart of sauerkraut and now I'm going to drain the juice out and use that. That's fine, except at some point you're going to run out of sauerkraut juice and then what are you going to do? So I came up with this idea probably 5 years ago, maybe 10, I don't know, to use cabbage tonic, which is actually a recipe that came from Nourishing Traditions that is in my book, where you take a large 2-quart or 2-liter jar, you put in just a little bit, maybe a half or a quarter of a cabbage, right? And then salt, whey, and water all the way up. So you wound up having a lot more quote-unquote cabbage juice or cabbage tonic that you can use instead of sauerkraut juice. I hope that's helpful. All right, let's see. So again, the recipe is sitting on this page, Ask the GAP Chef. It's also sitting, I think it could be on my publisher's page, Celine River Press. You could just look up, search cabbage tonic versus beet kvass and my last name, and you'll find it. It'll come up for you. All right. Hello, Marayev. I'm saying hello to you in a moment. Let me see. Mariah has a question about beets. Mariah, should I avoid beets with yeast overgrowth? Is that an okay food? I would bring them in and then see how you do. I wouldn't avoid them. I think that their benefit is far outweighs the detriment in terms of feeding yeast. That's just me, but see how your body responds, right? Okay. Okay, so Morev says, hope I said that right. Zehavi, beautiful. I love beets, but I get worried about eating too much because of not getting too much iron as a senior woman. I am not sure about any of that. I'm not sure you get iron from beets. Marive? Okay, I'll say Marive. In any case, thank you. The point is that, yeah, beets are not about iron. Beets are about cleansing your liver. Liver is about iron. Eating liver for iron, you eat liver for iron. You eat beets to help cleanse the liver. You eat beets to help cleanse the blood. You eat beets to help initiate bile flow, which can help initiate a bowel movement. So you don't have to worry about too many beets. I drink cabbage tonic every day. Is that enough, or do I need sauerkraut juice also? Nope, that's enough. Cabbage tonic is really meant to be, again, I started introducing families that I was working with, people that needed a lot of sauerkraut juice. I said they're running out of sauerkraut juice because you only have so much juice in a quart or a liter. So make cabbage tonic, and then you can just leave the juice in your fabulous sauerkraut quart or liter. All right. Traditionally, we make sauerkraut with whole cabbages in wood barrels and lots of brine. Rock and roll, Laura. I love that. Good for you. Good, good, good. Sounds delicious and delightful. All right. My understanding, Camilla, is that lemon water before a meal will help engage the liver, but it's not going to increase stomach acid. That's just my understanding. I could be entirely wrong. But it's a good thing to do always. Lemon water. Lemon in water. Start your day with that. All right, let's go over here. I have a couple more questions here. Okie dokie. Let's see where they are. Thank you, Camilla. Rock and roll. I appreciate that. Okay. I would love some ideas to support a diagnosis of osteoporosis of the spine in a 54-year-old woman who has been on full gaps for a year. Osteoporosis. So again, I haven't done a whole thing on this, but let's talk a little bit. Osteoporosis of the spine. Boy, I could answer this in so many ways. Let's think about where to start. First of all, full gaps. Again, can people heal on full gaps? Yes. Is it the most potent healing or the most concentrated healing? No. So again, I've done a whole video on this, which is about like which one, full gaps versus intro, blah, blah, blah. You can take a look at it. I personally like people to either do intro stage 1 and then sit on stage 2 for 3 to 6 months and then move on to stage 3, 4, whatever. Or I have people do a modified full gaps. What does modified mean? That means we take out all of the foods that could be problematic. All the fruit, things that are allowed, they're part of full, like wine is part of full, alcohol is part of full, what else? Wine, alcohol, all sorts of things. Not all sorts of things, but there are coffee, like all those things are on full gaps. So we take them out so that full gaps can really be like turbocharged and really help. So let's talk about osteoporosis. Osteoporosis, in my understanding, has to do with a couple things. One, how much coffee did this 54-year-old person drink through her life? How much coffee are any of you drinking? Right? Coffee is acidic and pulls calcium out of the bones. So if this beloved 54-year-old woman, has been drinking 2 or 3 cups of coffee, or even one for what? She's 54. 30 years? 35 years? How long has this person been drinking coffee? Maybe never. That would be great. But remember that coffee is indicated. I do not have a scientific study for you, but I'm just thinking about how food works in the body, right, folks? So if you're drinking coffee every day, it's highly acidic and it will pull calcium from your bones. What does that mean? That means your bones are weak. Why? Because you're drinking too much coffee. So remember, coffee plus cream, drinking cream that's high in calcium, that helps actually mitigate the pulling of the calcium from the bones. So I'd look there first. The other reasons we have osteoporosis is because people take vitamin D supplements. If you take vitamin D supplements and you're taking them for long periods of time, you're taking large amounts, there goes the calcium out of your bones into your bloodstream. So take a look at that. I know no one's going to tell you that, but I'm telling you that, okay? Okay, what else? The person may not have had enough calcium through their life. Bioavailable raw dairy that was then cultured, right? Remembering that you, God, this is so good, right? Like, look at all the things I'm thinking of. Wow. Meaning, if this person drank skim milk or 2% milk through their lives, there's another reason for osteoporosis. How about skim yogurt and 2% yogurt and all that other not real food, right? Like God doesn't make skim milk cows, right? So we want to look at why osteoporosis, folks. I mean, yeah. So I'm giving you those things. And so now what does this person do? Well, what do? You heal and seal the gut with lots of meat stock, and you up the amount of cultured gaps made, so 24-hour or longer, cultured dairy, so yogurt every day. A quart to 2 quarts a week at least. 2 quarts of yogurt a week, a quart of kefir a week. I mean, I would be going there. Make sure it's full fat, raw if possible, GAPS compliant, which means no lactose, right? Cultured long, yogurt and cream. That's where you go for quote unquote osteoporosis. You have to increase bioavailable calcium. Okay? Thanks. Yeah. Put that. God doesn't make skim milk cows. It's true. I mean, what are we doing? Why? Because you need the fat to absorb the calcium, folks. There's no mistake in nature. God knows what God's doing. Hello? Right? We get our little crazy human. I'm not dissing humanity, but we start doing skim things and people start getting fat. We start doing skim things and people start losing bone density, right? That is real. We start drinking coffee every day. Double shots of this and that. Remembering that coffee is allowed on full gaps. But we're not talking about let's go to Starbucks and have a triple shot caramel macchiato every day with not good dairy. Remember, they're not giving you any cultured dairy, folks, and they're not giving you clean dairy either. Another story for another time. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Why, the question about why people have osteoporosis. Yeah, these things are real. But decades, right? Really since the 80s, at least, the US anyway, since the early 80s, that's 40 years ago. More than that, it's 45 years ago. Almost half a century that this country has not been or has been promoting, I'm going to get out of this crazy. Look at me, wee! Has been promoting skim milk and low-fat dairy and selling yogurt that is full of lactose. Don't get me started. So, and so what have we been doing for 45 years? We've been drinking lots of coffee, which is pulling calcium out of the bones. We've been taking lots of vitamin D, pulling calcium out of the bones. And we've been drinking, skim milk yogurt. Oh, but it's Greek. I don't care whether it's Greek or not. It needs to be full fat. Full fat, organic, grass-fed. Raw is best. Homemade is the best. All right. Oh, you're welcome, Natasha. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, that was a lot today, huh? Wow, who knew? Who knew a little question about osteoporosis would bring all that in? Look, I'm churning the sun's coming in. All right, let's see what else we have. I'm going to look here. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, that's all I've got in my questions ahead of time. So if there's anyone else that has a question, please let me know. You can put it in the comments. Just to let you all know, again, I will be here in 2 weeks. I'm here every 2nd and 4th. I'm here for you. I mean, I'm taking an hour to answer any questions that you might have. I might move. Should I move? I'm going to move over here. Anyway, so I hope you'll join me and let other people know that I'm here for you. Again, I'd love to invite you to my 8-week program that I'm starting in January. On the 20th of January, I'm starting an 8-week group where we'll be learning. We're doing a deep dive on intro. If you want to learn all the specifics of how to do intro, this is the place. Check out my website for that. It's called Jumpstart Gaps. Go to simplybeingwell.com. Jumpstart Gaps. I'm only taking a few people to do this 8-week program and really do a deep dive on intro. What is it? How does it work? Etc. All right. Great, Camilla. I hope you'll be here. All right. Laura says, do you have a recipe for salted pie crust? Like a sauté cabbage pie. Salted pie crust. I'm not really sure, Laura. I haven't heard of a sauté cabbage pie unless you typed it, made an error in typing. Let me know. But couple of things. In gaps, of course, how do we make pie crust? We can make pie crust from cheese. That would be a savory pie, of course. Parmesan cheese and maybe nuts. We can make it from nuts and seeds that we make into flour and then ferment. You can make a pie crust out of that. You can also make a pie crust out of coconut, shredded coconut. You can make a pie crust out of, if you wanted to, soak, sprout, or ferment lentils, then cook them, then dry them, dehydrate, then grind them. Then you can use that as a flour, lentils or white beans or things like that. I don't know if that's helpful. You can use any of those things. Yeah. I hope that's helpful. Nut flour makes the pie sweet. Okay, so what about if you used, again, you could use white beans, make white bean flour. So here's my suggestion these days, folks. I don't know if I've said this before in this group, but the best way to work with lentils or any other bean or legume on GAPS, and they are on the Full GAPS diet, right? So the best way to work with them. So what are those? Lentils of any color or any size or any shape. Lentils. White navy beans. They're also known as haricot beans. Haricot. Lima beans. Green beans, which I've never thought of as a bean, but green beans to me are a vegetable. But anyway, any of those you can sprout. Really sprout them. Sprouting is so easy. Sprout them in a colander. I'm doing this because you're lining here's the colander, and you're lining the colander. First you're, of course, hydrating the bean or the lentil, and then you are going to put them in a colander to drain, and then you'll just water them once or twice a day. You'll sprout them. Use those. Sprouting is so easy if you do it this way, and it makes the bean or legume so incredibly digestible. And maybe use that to make your pie, so it won't be so sweet at all. I would try the white beans. That's where I would go. I would not ferment them because fermenting beans to me is a lot of work, and you really can get a lot of goodness depending on where you are in the GAPS diet by just sprouting and then drying and then grinding. Or sprout, cook, dry, grind. It's a lot of work. So all those steps are in my book also if you want to take a look at it. All right. Good. It's been such a pleasure to be with all of you. I do really invite you to take a look at all the videos that I've already done. I think you'll find some good information there. I can't do this because I'm turning white. Whoa, sorry. Again, I wish you blessings during this holiday season, and I do hope that you take a moment to think about how you want to approach this season, and then line up with it. And there you are. All right. Be well, everyone. Blessings on your journey. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're very, very welcome. All right. Be well, everyone. Bye now. This is the Gap Chef signing off. Toodles.